Another 48-hour art check. And Josh is remote in the middle of
Yes.
some undisclosed location, a parking lot of some kind.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm literally at a gas station on my way to Los Angeles for a cartoonist meetup. But the 48-hour art check continues on, and I'm imagining we'll have to do this as it proceeds. Every once in a while.
Yeah, I'm certain that I'll have to at times do it as well. Okay, so I'm gonna play the intro. All right, and we are good. So, do we need to do
Yeah.
a kind of a truncated version, or are you still good for 2 minutes apiece?
We can do 2 minutes apiece. That sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. Do
You
you want
might
to?
the
Sorry.
questions because I don't have them.
Okay, so we
You
start
might,
with. I will start with what have you done in the last 48 hours? What's your progress?
got it. Um, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, and I already started the timer just to make it harder. You've already lost like 10 seconds.
Perfect. Okay. So, I have had a pretty successful few days. I got the final pencils done for quarterly stories, which was really cool. And now I'm also happy because I got those revisions done for the client that I was working on for. So I'm like right on track. Uh, yeah. So that's pretty much where I'm at. Am I getting a lag or anything like that? Am I coming through okay?
No, I can hear
I
you
hope
just
so.
fine.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, so
great.
it's been pretty good.
And you pencil and then ink and then or you pencil then letter then ink, and you don't batch up pages, right? You just do one page at a time.
Yes.
Okay, and so you've penciled a whole page and you're ready to go with that.
Hmm.
That's great. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well you ended early, so I'm gonna go now. I had a less productive 48 hours. My garage door broke, and so we couldn't get out of the garage for a little while, and I had to fix that. And then something went wrong with my fish tank, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but it's a 125-gallon fish tank, so it's a kind of a bigger deal. And horribly, I procrastinated and I decided I'm just going to play video games for like half an hour, which is a bad idea. And so that was way longer than half an hour. But what I'm doing though is, I'll see if I can show. Might be a little hard to see, but I'm trying a thumbnail. So this is I started like an inch to 2 inch thumbnails, the last page of my book, and I'm kind of going out of order.
Nice.
And so I think I figured out. I think I figured out what I want to do with it, like what the contents are. I haven't figured out the composition yet, and so I'm still kind of experimenting with that. And so that's most of the progress as far as actual artwork. But I also wanted to show you this. Where did that go? Right here. Yeah. So you can see here, this is my Trello board. And these over here on the left, it's a little hard to see because it's getting cropped, so I'll move it just a little bit. But over here on the left, you've got, these are pages that I only have a real quick thumbnail of. These are pages
Yeah.
that I have kind of a rough idea of what I want to do. And this one actually gets to get moved over here. These are where pencils are. And then from there, I've got all the ones that I've inked. And I actually haven't done this in a really long time, but I didn't realize how many of these pages I've actually finished. And so I was actually really happy as I was organizing this to kind of see where I was.
Yeah.
There's quite a few pages left to do, but I've finished a ton of these. So I have 6 spreads that are in some stage of six spreads in some stage of production, and then 2 here that are not yet done anything on, and the rest of them are inked. So I'm about 14 pages away from being done,
Awesome.
which is pretty cool. So that's what I've done in the last 2 days. So not as much as I needed to, but some progress. So then,
That's awesome.
sorry, go
That
ahead.
looks cool. Like, so what is the reason of the organization? Is it just to kind of keep track? Like, those, that's like a layout of all of your progress thus far on the book.
Yeah, and so I mapped out the entire book in thumbnail because I don't really script
Yeah.
like a lot of writers do. I do it visually, and then I'll put in dialogue after the fact and writing after the fact. And so I had a general idea of what animators would call kind of a storyboard, right? And then from there, I just started breaking out beats and kind of shuffling things around. And with my mentor, I've been meeting with him, and he's been saying, "Oh, if this happened before this page, then it would help," and that type of thing. So it's some storytelling stuff. And from there, I just
Yeah.
needed to produce it. And to be honest, some pages are intimidating enough that I wait until I'm in a mood or a mental state where I can take them on, and others are just so easy that I can do it with a TV show on or an audiobook or something. And so depending on how I'm feeling that day will kind of depend on which page I'm going at, and so
Yeah.
that's pretty random. And so I had to have some sort of organization to make sure that I'm not missing pages, and that I can also, for motivation standpoint, I need to see progress, or I get discouraged. And
Yeah.
so moving stuff from the left to the right is like, some people say, "Oh, I love checking things off a list." And for me, that Trello board, if I get to move that card over, is like, "Yeah, I've accomplished something. I did it." And so that's kind of why I do that. So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. So what struggles have you had in the last 48 hours?
Let's see. The biggest struggle so far is also a positive. There's a documentary filmmaker who did a movie that I've actually watched. It's like on Netflix, and it's a pretty good one. And he approached me a while ago about work, but living in Los Angeles, you get approached every once in a while by filmmakers, and a lot of it's like meetings that don't end up anywhere. Like, and you finally draft your quote, and then it's just like nothing comes of it.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I was kind of expecting that, especially considering this guy. Like, I actually like his the documentary that I know him from making, and what he's making a documentary on is a really cool figure. And I can't really share a lot about it, but the cool thing is, it looks like that might actually happen. At least a couple spot illustrations for the documentary. Um, it's looking more and more like it, because I quoted a rate, and we're kind of negotiating and working it out. Um, so that's been a challenge, though, to kind of um, like one of my challenges in taking freelance, even if it's something I enjoy, is like trying to kind of juggle my personal projects with my full-time day job as an art director. And the whole purpose of that day job is so that I don't end up buried in freelance, not doing personal work.
Right.
So, but like I said, I don't want to complain, because it's fun work, and it's not work that I'd want to really send anyone else's way, because I like it. Like, I really want it. I want to do it. So,
Yeah.
but the challenge has just been negotiating, like, processes that when I was full-time freelance would have taken a couple hours, take a couple days, because it's like I provide a quote, and then I have to go to work, and then the next day I get an email and I can't respond instantly because I'm at work. So, I'm off work, and then it's so, it's that juggle.
Right.
But anyhow, I think I went over my time.
No, only
But
not as much as I did before. So, yeah, that's interesting. And I have a similar challenge. We're both in a situation where a lot of artists handle things differently, and every way that everybody chooses to do it is great. But we've chosen to do day jobs so that we can cover our bills and not have to make money off of our side projects. But it is hard when somebody comes along with a project that you're like stoked about. And that happened to me a little bit last year, where I was like, this is cool enough to where I'm going to hit pause and kind of because juggling it all is really hard. So that's cool. That's cool that you have that
Yeah.
opportunity. Yeah. So for me, I oops, I gotta go over here. Sorry. Um, I kind of already went over it. I got in my own way in the last 2 days, and on this round, I guess we could start referring to it as. And Stephen Pressfield in the War of Art talks about resistance, and this resistance was just random crap. I mean, it was just like a bunch of nothing that didn't really need to happen that I could have done after I got some of the work done. But it just kind of filled my space, and so my struggle was just giving into the stupidness of things like video games and sharpening all the pencils in my studio and reorganizing stuff that didn't need to be reorganized. All the things that you kind of do for whatever reason. So that's kind of that. But anyway, so nothing serious or anything, and the garage door and the fish tank, which actually needed to get taken care of. But so that's the main thing. Nothing huge, but yeah, this since I have a little bit left was really interesting because this is the third time we've done this, and in the back of my mind it was always I just kept saying, okay, you gotta stop doing this because you're gonna have round 3 tomorrow, and so I actually did, but by the time I got around to it, I had wasted all my energy. I was so tired that I was like falling asleep at the table, and it was way past midnight, 1 in the morning. So I was kind of dozing, and I wasn't. So I technically still did it. If it was like one of those daily challenges, I would have. It would have been one of those days where I technically met the requirements, but it wasn't like useful. So that was the challenge. Is I just every once in a while I'm stupid and give in to stuff like that. So
Yeah. That makes perfect sense.
yeah. So what are your?
I mean, I
Sorry, go ahead.
definitely. Oh, sorry. There's a tiny lag, so if
That's
if I'm
okay.
delayed at all, I apologize.
No, you're
Um,
fine.
but yeah. I totally relate to what you're talking about. I think that's the challenge of just making art in general, and I think that's why I'm so excited about having this because to me, like being able to, like honestly, yesterday I really did not want to do those pencils,
Yeah.
and just having this made me kind of get over it and do it. But do understand because if something at my house happened, like the garage door broke or something like that, that pretty much would eat away any semblance of art time I have,
Right.
because it's a small window.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's also the concern with the freelance thing. It's just like you have this small window to do your personal work, and the more kind of paid work you take, the shorter. I'm trying to think of a way to explain. Like the quicker it's fulfilling,
Yeah.
but the long termness of the fulfillment is like it isn't very lasting fulfillment
Right.
from those kinds of projects.
Well, it's the difference
Um,
between like instant gratification, which is kind of fleeting,
yes,
and earned gratification, which takes a while to get to but has a longer shelf life. So yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. I feel like we could do a whole episode on this, but we have to stick to our rules and move on. So
yes, let's do it.
tell me what your plan is for the next between now and Monday for the weekend.
All right, so my goal is to like I'm hoping by the end of the weekend to have inked the next page of quarterly stories. I'm also hoping to secure and close this quote with this client. That other client that I did a T-shirt for wants me to do another, and it's one of my favorite clients, so I might also take that on. We'll see. And once again, it's that juggle of. I mean, I don't want to sound like I'm complaining because I always appreciate getting fun, paid work. Like that honestly is a really cool thing, and especially fun paid work that I didn't have to go out there and seek out.
Oh yeah.
Like, and because of the fact that like I've had many years of my life where that never happened, I really appreciate it happening. But at the same time, I also really need to make sure that I keep that goal. Like, regardless, if I take on extra work, whatever, at least for my own personal challenge, how am I doing with the head? Am I okay for time?
Yeah, you've got about 30 seconds left.
Perfect. Okay, so the thing that I'm trying to kind of like kind of ingrain in myself is, regardless, like if I take on extra freelance work or whatever, I need to prioritize personal projects and make sure that regardless I'm getting in a minimum of time on a daily basis on my personal project, because it's such a big project, it's just never going to get done unless I carve away at it daily. So it's kind of a non-negotiable. So it's going to be interesting trying to shove more stuff in there, but it's it's kind of fun. It's a good challenge.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. And I know what you
Yep.
mean, because I like getting work where it was one of those things where, oh, that's such a cool idea. I'd probably do that anyway if I thought of it. Those are kind of the only projects that I'll take on for money now, is if it's something that I'm just like super excited about. Like a really good client, like you're saying, where you have a really good relationship, where the idea is awesome. There have been a couple of those this year where somebody came to me and said, we want an album cover that, where like somebody's eating pizza while the world's ending. And I'm like, oh, that's rad. I'll totally do that. But otherwise I kind of turn everything else down. So yeah, and you don't want to
Yeah,
like sound
that's
ungrateful with anybody, but, and it is kind of, I understand that balance, like, and you're not coming off as though you're begrudging this work at all, but I understand the concern, because you're like trying to explain this delicate balance without making people feel like, oh, I encroached on his time, and you're like, no, it's cool, I like this, but yeah. So.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna catch up. So I have a deadline, I believe, in about 7 weeks, and so I am, if I had gotten done this week what I needed to get done, then I could have done a spread every week and met that deadline a week early, and so now I'm at that deadline where I have to start, finish, and ink a spread every week to be able to meet that deadline. So I would like to use the weekend between now and Monday to get way ahead and see if I can get ahead of my production schedule again. I'm not behind yet, but I don't like being on the edge. And so that's my plan. I'm going to hang out with my family a little bit, and we'll do some stuff, and then I'm just going to kind of sequester myself in my studio and see if I can bust out a good 6 to 8 hours and see if I can get a chunk of that done in one big chunk rather than spread out over a few days. So that's kind of my plan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we'll see. Best laid plans, but I always think, oh, I have all this time because it's the weekend, and then Sunday night comes and I'm like, oh man, what happened? So anyway, but that's my plan. Is I want to get ahead. That's kind of what I plan to do. Yeah.
That's awesome. I look forward to seeing it, because I think you can stick to it, and I think that, like, once again, that's the advantage of this whole thing, is like it's a format for us to keep ourselves kind of accountable to getting our own goals done.
Yeah.
So I think it'll work. It's just and it sounds like that would actually, like, I think you and I are similar and slightly different in the sense of, I like to work on things in small chunks
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis, and you do that as well. Like, but it does seem like you also are more suited for like hitting a really long session, and I think what you're working on, works more effectively too, because there's a lot of elements in kids books that really require you to kind of zone out for a while.
Right.
Those are really complicated pages.
Yeah, and I find
So
I find it
finding.
I find it take a while to warm up too, and I've been trying to work on that. I don't know exactly if that's a personality thing or if that's just some more time at the table. But I have to do a good 30 to 45 minutes before I feel comfortable putting ink to a page, because if I do it before that, it's always bad. I'm not one of those guys that can just sit down and be like, I'm warm, and just go. I've got to kind of switch over, and it takes me a long time. And so if I'm doing like an hour, really only about 15 minutes of that is going to be actual stuff that ends up in a finished product. And so for me, if I can tag on to 2 or 3 hours at the end of that, then I can get 1 or 2 hours in, rather than just kind of the few minutes at the end or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so so that's our 3 segments. Do you want to wrap anything up? Actually, I want to do this. I want to ask you, what are you doing? You're going to it's not a cartoonist convention. Is this the super secret society guys with the jacket and all that?
No, so that is that thing that you're talking about. That's the NCS LA, the National Cartoon Society Chapter LA. And the thing I'm going to tonight, like there's these editors that worked on this publication called The Devastator that I used to do short comics for, and they're having kind of a meetup with a lot of other cartoonists and comedians, that really funny people, like a lot of people who write for The Onion and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's a watching cartoons and drinking booze social gathering. And so I'm going there to kind of hobnob, but mostly to just kind of enjoy the company of some people I haven't seen in a while. But some of my favorite clients are running the whole thing, and they're great people. So it should be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That sounds cool.
And it's funny because my personality tends to be the type that's like, no, I'm not going to do it with that kind of thing. But I've talked about this on my blogs and stuff before, but I'm really trying to make a conscious effort to start saying yes to more things,
Right.
And it's led to positive things. So this is another one of those things.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know the feeling, because I remember last time we met, one of the plans that I had was I was going to start looking for conferences and conventions and things, and a lot of them have already happened, unfortunately, but I did actually put my name on a waiting list to get into Salt Lake Comic-Con, which is a really big show that started a few years ago, and I went the first year, and I've never tabled at anything, but I remember now I'm on a waiting list. That's the first time I've done that, because I tend to be kind of similar, like, oh, I'll just kind of stay here and draw, and maybe I'll show it on an Instagram or whatever, but I'm not much of a, let's go out there and hang out with everybody and network and whatnot. And so, so we'll see. It's very unlikely that I'll get in. I mean, it's a highly competitive kind of thing, and I got in super late on the waiting list. But that was actually the first time that I did put my name on something like that. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
I think that'll be a really good experience. That sounds like a cool experience,
Yeah, I mean, I've met some really cool people. I mean, Ryan Otley goes to that because he lives near there. He's the guy who draws Invincible. Brandon Dayton is down there. Cam Kendall, Jed Henry. There's a lot of kind of known indie guys that are kind of down there and at that show. And I don't know. It'd be cool to be on the other side of the table. Like I said, though, it's pretty unlikely. Yeah. But if it does happen, I feel like, unlike in years past where I was kind of getting started, I would have kind of a body of work that I could table now. I mean, I've got enough stickers and prints now where I think I could fill a table. So that's kind of new for me. But yeah. So anyway, I'm not sure if this is lag or if we've run out of things to say, but I think that's our 3 minutes.
Yeah. So I can just guarantee you a lot of that's lag.
Okay.
I keep hearing I'll hear like a good chunk of what you're saying, and then it robots out. So I'm
Oh.
like, oh, that's cool what you're saying about conventions, and then it's like, yeah. So, but I think that works. That works.
Yeah, and
So
on
you
my
tried
end,
college.
you're not
Oh, go
getting the
ahead.
robot out thing or anything. So the feed should be fine.
Perfect.
So it was only bad for you.
That's great. Uh, awesome. So should we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'll take us out this time. If you want to check out Josh's stuff, go to quarterlystories.com and make sure to subscribe to him on YouTube, which that link is in the description of this video. My stuff can be found at corykerr.com, and that is on the screen right now. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter and all that. And just like to thank No Saboteurs for the license to the intro music. And we will see you guys on Monday. We are out.